come to me, feel alright, just dance with me all
Lies of P is a total enigma, one of the more interesting games of 2023, and I'm so excited to talk about it because before it came out, I wasn't very excited for it because I thought to myself, well, nothing could even come close to an actual Soulsborne game or a game from Software. Oh, but how wrong I was, because after playing through this, I now consider Lies of P one of the better games of 2023, and it's definitely a must play if you're a fan of Soulsborne or Souls-like games in general. My goal in this review is to go over the major elements of Lies of P, such as the gameplay, the graphics, the sound, the story, and the difficulty. With that being said, there will be some inevitable comparisons to other Soulsborne games such as Bloodborne, but I will try my best to limit those comparisons as I feel Lies of P deserves to be reviewed as its own unique game. Without further ado, let's get into it. Lies of P gameplay is super fun, visceral, and very diverse. It's a combination of Bloodborne in terms of using regain, a little bit more aggressive, and Sekiro, where parrying is highly encouraged. You can't just roll around in this game, the iframes are very minimal. Usually you have to actually physically dodge things to get away. Parrying usually ends up being your best option unless you're being attacked by one of these Fury red attacks where you can't dodge it, kinda, and you have to try to get a perfect parry on it. Combat in this game will feel very familiar to a lot of people in terms of your R1 is your light attack, your R2 is your heavy chargeable attack, and your goal in this game is to try to stagger opponents. You'll see them like their health bar and name turn white, where you can do a chargeable heavy attack and you can go in and do a fatal attack for tons of damage. Along with that, you also have a Fable meter, which is the blue meter at the top left of the screen, and you gain that by attacking opponents. Once you have enough of the Fable meter slots, you can do special attacks with your weapons by pushing triangle. Speaking of the weapons in this game are so varied and fun to use, and you can also switch out your blade with the handle of the weapon, which the handle will actually dictate the moveset and the scaling of the weapon. So you can make some very interesting combinations. It can get quite complicated depending on your build, but the weapons in this game are freaking awesome, man. And talking about stats too, it's similar to what you see in other Soulsborne games, Souls-like games, in that you have your strength, which is called motivity here, technique, which is like your dexterity, you have your health, you have your stamina, you have your legion, which is another huge part of this game. The Legion arm is essentially interchangeable left arm, which is used for different abilities, such as a grapple hook, an arm that shoots electricity, shoot fire. You can put landmines, which is what I use for my first playthrough. I used a strength build, and I love just putting mines down and just smothering the opponents. But all these arms offer very diverse options for gameplay, and they all can come through with specific enemies, different specialties, so they're all very fun to use, and you can have separate upgrade paths for each of them as well. Another notable gameplay element of Lies of P is the P organ system, which essentially allows you to pick an upgrade path for specific buffs that can either be passive or active. And as you complete slots in the P organ system, you get extra abilities. This system allows a lot of diversity in your build, as there are 4 different upgrade options to choose from. Also, something I wanted to bring up was the levels in Lies of P. Overall, I loved most of them. They're a lot of fun to navigate, and I have to say the shortcuts in this game are just phenomenal, and the overall level design is quite awesome. The one thing I'll say though is a lot of the areas kind of blend in a lot. There's not, in my opinion, enough diversity in the areas we explore. And also, the overall game is a lot more linear than what I've experienced in similar types of games. With that being said, however, something that I think Lies of P actually did better than Soulsborne games is how it handles its NPCs and its quest. I have grown a little bit tired of the way Soulsborne games handle their ambiguous and obscure ways to complete quests. I feel like I miss so much of their games where, unless I look it up on a YouTube video or some kind of guide, I miss a lot of the game. In Lies of P, it shows you where you have to go complete your quest. It doesn't guide you with a little line, but it shows you which area and if you advance in a certain quest, which I really think should be incorporated in other games. And I get it, I might get some hate for that because of how Elden Ring, Dark Souls is, and just kind of figure it out yourself. But honestly, like, I don't want to miss the game anymore, and I think Lies of P did it in a great way. Now, we have to talk about the difficulty of Lies of P. Like Soulsborne games, we always have to talk about difficulty. And Lies of P, it is a difficult game. Now, I've seen a lot of discourse of this game being harder than any Souls game or Soulsborne game that they've played. And I don't agree with that. And maybe because I've pretty much played all of them. While I did struggle with a couple bosses, they took me maybe the hardest ones, the two biggest walls that I faced in the middle of the game and near the end. I probably took an hour with each. And while they were hard, it's a weird difficulty curve in this game because the environments and the regular enemies, for me, were way easier than in any Soulsborne game or any Souls-like game that I've ever played. But some of the bosses really took it to another level. So it can be a really odd difficulty curve and something that might throw some people off, especially if they don't have experience with these kinds of games. But overall, while difficult, I think it's very fair and not overly punishing where it would stop someone from actually playing the game. Now let's talk about the story of Lies of P. Now, I will never spoil anything for you guys, and the gameplay and all the footage I use here is just from the first couple hours of the game, as I want people to experience this for themselves. But I love the direction they took Lies of P. If it's not obvious, it's the story of Pinocchio Geppetto, and you're this puppet that can just kick some ass. And what's happened is, there's puppets in this world that are used to serve and to help people, protect people, but they've turned and they actually started murdering and attacking humans. So what you're doing is trying to figure out how this happened, why it happened, and who's involved. And I love the direction it took, especially getting to the end and everything. I really love where they took this, and I want to see more. Lies of P is a gorgeous, gorgeous game to look at, from its environments to its character models to the effects you get from the Legion arms and the Fable arts. And this is where it's going to get its comparisons to Bloodborne a lot. Its aesthetic of, kind of that creepy monster, more gloomy, dark feel, but it is still in its own right very beautiful and truly a joy to look at. And where I think it truly knocks it out of the park is the sound design in this game. Now, in the beginning of the video, I had that song Feel playing, where you get a record player in the hub area and you get to play different music while you're walking around and everything. And all those records are freaking awesome. They're all beautiful. Feel is definitely my favorite one. But overall, the sound design in this game is truly special. The sound of the gears of the Legion arm and the weapons when you get like the fatal attacks and all that, it's just awesome. And I think they truly, truly knocked it out of the park with the sound design. As good as the graphics are and everything, I think it really let the presentation go to another level with that. And it's very easy to see that to these developers, NeoWiz and Round 8 Studio, that music is very important to them, and it truly, truly showed. So, what's my final verdict? Well, obviously, I love Lies of P, and this is coming from someone who had an initial bias to this game because, I thought, well, no one can compete with From Software, Miyazaki's king, there's no way, and I'm so glad I gave it a shot. The hype is real. Lies of P is a phenomenal game in its own right, and these comparisons to Soulsborne, I know they're inevitable, but truly, it is a fantastic game, one of the best games of 2023. And if it's better than a Soulsborne game, well, that's not the point here. To me, is that if you haven't tried this yet, give it a shot. You will love Lies of P. Such a phenomenal game. I gave Lies of P a 9.5 out of 10. And thank you so much for watching. The channel's been growing a lot, and I really appreciate all of you. I really appreciate your like and subscribe. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about Lies of P. Or if you haven't played it yet, let me know if you plan to. And again, thank you so much for watching. Catch you next time. Keep gaming.
Close your eyes, come to me. Close